right, Friday. Here we go. We got Q&A. Voice is a little shot. Been coaching a lot this week. Cold's been going around. I don't know. These gross, germy little kids been getting me sick, but you love them. So we got two good questions though. I got these last week after our video on, what did we go over? Too much training. These were great follow-ups to that because I'd mentioned nutrition a little bit and recovery. So these are two targeted ones. If you're not subscribed to our email, shoot us a DM of your email. We'll get you on there. But I'm going to start posting these on social media as well. All right. So first question, talking about post-workout nutrition. Specifically, I think this kid's a sophomore in high school, baseball player. His dad reached out to me, was wondering, what do we do pre-workout? What do we do post-workout? They were kind of letting me know, hey, this is what we've been doing. We've been eating some sort of carb. And for those of you who are like, what the heck is that? It's, these are like your typical, like you see any like granola bar, fruit, protein bar, like granola bar mix, like all that stuff is awesome. Even just like a sandwich would be great too. And then talking about after would be a protein shake. So, or some sort of protein bar. They didn't really specify. Wanting to know though, is that good? Like what's good, what's better, what's best? I would say for a high school athlete, like this is pretty optimal. And I'll say that because most kids I know eat about twice a day. And it is lunch and it is dinner. And usually those two are separated by like 8 hours. Excuse me. So for one, it's like you need to eat prior to a workout or a practice because that's the equivalent of putting gas in your car. And I know a lot of people have a really, really hard time eating before competitions, practices, or even training sessions. But it's one of those things where like you have to kind of force yourself to eat something because once people really adjust to that, like the performance benefit in and of itself is ridiculous. I see kids come in like who are dead tired, and I've given them like a handful of Skittles before just because they needed some sort of, carb boost. And I mean, it's straight sugar and it's not the best thing in the world for you. But then all of a sudden they have a great workout, they're full of energy, and they do a lot better and they feel a lot better than they walked in the door. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and recommend Skittles. I'm also not going to recommend any of this advice because I'm not a certified dietitian, but this is just my anecdotal experience and what has worked for people I've worked with in the past and what has worked for myself and the guys I get to work with. So I'm always going to recommend some sort of fruit and like granola protein bar combo. So like Cliff bars are awesome for this. The Cliff Builder bar, I'm a huge fan of. And then like an apple, an orange, a banana, something that's kind of anything that's not really a berry, like you're good. Pineapple would be great as well, or whatever you kind of feeling, whatever's in season. The reason being those are going to kind of jack up your blood sugar a little bit. They're going to give you a little boost of energy. And then the protein's kind of like, kids don't eat enough protein. So like I'm always trying to sneak protein in there whenever we can. And then the post-workout is going to be kind of similar, right? So like fruit's really, really quick energy. There's a lot of sugar in fruit. But then afterwards you want something that's like long and sustainable. So if I got kids who are driving 30 minutes to and from the gym, it's like I want you to try to get a protein source in there before you get home. And then at home, it's like we're looking at whole grain pastas, we're looking at whole grain breads, we're looking at, rice, any sort of potato, like that stuff is money. And then obviously pairing that with another protein source as well. I tell kids like, hey, your job is to go home and make your parents mad at you for how much dinner you're going to eat. And then also like unlimited on the veggies as well. So, because kids can't get enough of those vitamins. That was a really good question. I really think that like that's something that people don't even really have a beat on is like, hey, like you need to eat prior and you definitely need to eat after because carbohydrates are going to give you the energy to have a really good workout and protein's going to actually give you the recovery from that training session, right? Because we're going to beat you up, we're going to tear you down, you're going to get sore or whatever. The only way to kind of bounce back from that quickly is by eating the right amount of protein to recover from that, all right? Oftentimes kids end up getting more tired and getting hurt just because they don't eat enough food. And like, it's really that simple. Sorry, long-winded, but good question. My man, Chad, really liked that one. All right, this next one is from another parent. His name is Scott. Scott's wondering, what should my youth athlete be eating? More specifically for muscle growth and fuel, for competition, not necessarily weight loss. You have any resources like websites, books, etc., that you could recommend to help find this information? Scott, this is an awesome question. All right. So I know this particular athlete plays like 3 or 4 sports. He's probably, and I'll just say this in general, like most kids, like I said earlier, like they just don't eat enough. We ask everybody, hey, what'd you have for breakfast? Most people say nothing. And then when they'll get here to train, we'll be like, hey, when's the last time you ate? And most of them, it will be north of 2 hours prior. The problem with this is that you cannot out-train a bad diet. So you're like, hey, my results, they look terrible. Like I'm not getting bigger. I'm not getting stronger. I'm not getting faster. It's because you're driving a car on E all the time and expecting it to somehow perform better. So when it comes to athlete nutrition 101, especially if you are like under 18 years old, you need to eat more. And not more at each meal, but more frequency. So like I tell kids, you should eat probably at least 4 times a day. And that's like snacks too, right? Like 5 would be great. 6 would be even better if you're really looking to put on some muscle and get a little bit bigger. And like these don't have to be like full sit down, like, you know, the farmer's breakfast at the local omelet shop or a steak dinner every night. But I think it's kind of like if you just kind of have this more grazer mentality where you're going to get a decent amount of food in every couple hours, every 2 to 4 hours, that would be ideal. Specifically, especially with kids, both guys and girls like need a lot more protein. So if you're not getting enough protein, like that is how you literally repair the muscles that you damage when you play sports, when you practice, and when you train. So we talked about getting the energy earlier, and then now the protein's the recovery piece. That is the most crucial thing I can say. Because I think most people, especially today, they get enough carbs. There's no problem, right? Like you think breakfast is going to be like cereal, Pop-Tarts, which don't even get me started on those. But like most people, if they eat breakfast, it's going to be almost exclusively carbs. But then you'll see and then it's like lunch is like sandwiches, pretzels, chips, like a cookie and maybe an apple or like some grapes and like not a whole lot of protein throughout that day. Then they go to dinner and like they'll maybe have like half a chicken breast, maybe like a little piece of steak. Or they just do pasta and it's like, okay, so you just had a ton of carbs. Like no wonder your kids are bouncing off the walls, but you've never really given them enough meat specifically or like yogurt or cottage cheese or any good valuable protein source to rebuild and give them the muscle mass that you're probably looking for them. So when it comes to muscle growth, protein, a gram per body weight is what a lot of people will say. I don't think you really need to go buy a scale and measure out how much protein per ounce and stuff like that. A good rule of thumb is just like have protein at every meal and snack in some semblance, right? So if you're having a snack, it's going to be like beef jerky or like a protein bar from Costco. Put protein in your breakfast. So whether that's, hey, like you're going to have a bowl of cereal with a protein shake, you're going to have oatmeal and a protein bar, or you're going to have like bacon and eggs, all good stuff. Like a bagel and peanut butter, as delicious as it is, like that's not protein, unfortunately. That's a really good carb and fat, because like peanut butter has maybe like 5-7 grams of protein versus like 17 grams of fat. So like I consider peanut butter definitely a fat. Great for gaining weight though. You need your fats if you're looking to get weight up. And so I'll usually recommend that as well. So it's like get your carbs, get your protein, and then just put peanut butter in everything. Usually a good way to kind of go about that. This is very general advice, obviously. But for competition, like I said, I don't think energy is usually the issue. So I'll tell people like, depending on how you are, like 90 to 30 minutes before, you can eat some sort of fruit and like granola bar, and like that will work wonders for you. Some people can do it. Like I have kids who walk in, they're eating it as they're walking in the door. They'll throw the wrapper away and we'll go hit sprints and they're totally fine. Other people are like, I got to eat further out than that because my stomach gets upset or something like that. And that's totally fine. I think I just tell people 30 to 90 minutes and you should be good to go. But then backtracking here for resources. Like I said, I'm not an expert by any means when it comes to nutrition. As you can tell, I'm kind of all over the place here. But I would say you can always look at Precision Nutrition. I think they have a blog that it's pretty good. I think they have a good little youth athlete section in there, if I'm not mistaken. And then I don't know if Renaissance Periodization, it's called RP. That's I steal a lot of their information and try to relate to the kids in some semblance. They do a lot of high performance and a lot of just kind of general population work with nutrition. They're probably like the best resource available for that. They have blogs and videos as well. But like I said, this isn't my field. I just want to do my best to try to kind of help you guys out. Biggest takeaway from this video: eat more in general, right? And that is in volume and frequency, so more at each meal and more times a day. And then 2, eat more protein. And that in and of itself will be like your X factor, right? Because you can't out-trade a bad diet, but if you do have a really good diet, like it separates people. I have tons of athletes who tell me what they eat, and they eat like absolute champions, and they perform like absolute champions. I think every single one of my college-bound athletes eats at least 3 times a day, and they have protein on every single meal. So something to consider. If you got more questions on this, shoot us a DM, shoot us an email. Would love to help you out with this. This is fun. You guys have a great weekend. All right.